The Unexpected Sanctuary. The rain hammered against the windows of Bookmark and Brew, but Lily Chen barely noticed. The gentle hum of the espresso machine and the scent of old books created the perfect backdrop as she arranged a display of local authors. It was Tuesday afternoon, traditionally the quietest time at her combination bookstore and cafe, which suited her just fine today. She tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear, the silver bracelet on her wrist catching the warm light from the vintage lamps overhead. The door chimes jingled suddenly, followed by the sound of someone breathing heavily. A man stood in the entrance, soaked from the rain, his face partially hidden beneath a baseball cap. He wore an expensive leather jacket that did little to conceal his trembling. Behind him, through the rain-streaked windows, Lily could see a group of people running down the street, cameras in hand. "I'm sorry," he said between breaths. They won't leave me alone." Lily recognized him instantly. Ethan Brooks, the Grammy-winning musician whose soulful ballads and public breakup with actress Veronica Hayes had dominated entertainment news for months. But what struck her wasn't his fame, but the genuine fear in his eyes. "Quick, this way," she said, gesturing toward the back room without hesitation. "Take the stairs up." She guided him through the employee area to a narrow staircase that led to her small apartment above the shop. "Stay here," she instructed. "I'll handle it." Downstairs, Lily had barely resumed her position behind the counter when the door burst open. 3 people with cameras entered, scanning the space frantically. "Can I help you?" Lily asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Ethan Brooks, did he come in here?" demanded a woman with a press badge. "No one's come in except you," Lily replied, gesturing to the nearly empty cafe. An elderly couple in the corner looked up briefly before returning to their chess game. "It's been quiet all afternoon." After a few suspicious glances around the store, they left, muttering about losing their shot. Lily waited 15 minutes before locking the front door and flipping the sign to closed. Upstairs, she found Ethan sitting on her faded blue couch, staring at a framed photograph of the Grand Canyon on her wall. "They're gone," she said softly. "Thank you," he replied, removing his cap to reveal tousled brown hair. "I don't know what came over me. Usually I just deal with it." "Everyone needs sanctuary sometimes," Lily said, filling her electric kettle. "Tea? That would be amazing." As she prepared 2 mugs, she felt him watching her, not with the entitled gaze of celebrity, but with genuine curiosity. "I'm Lily, by the way," she offered. "Ethan," he replied with a small smile. "But I guess you knew that." "I recognized you," she admitted, handing him a steaming mug. "Though you look different without the stage lights." "More human?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. "More tired," she replied honestly. He laughed, a real laugh that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "That's refreshing. No one tells me the truth anymore." Outside, the rain continued to fall, creating a cocoon of sound around them. For the first time in months, Ethan felt his shoulders relax as he sipped tea in a stranger's apartment, surrounded by overflowing bookshelves and the faint scent of cinnamon. "Why a bookstore cafe?" he asked after a comfortable silence. Lily smiled, tucking her feet beneath her as she settled into an armchair across from him. "Because books and coffee are the 2 things that make people slow down in this world, and I think we could all use a little more of that." Ethan nodded, suddenly aware that he'd stumbled into something far more valuable than just a hiding place. Pages between us. 3 days later, Lily was shelving new arrivals when the bell above the door chimed. She turned to find Ethan, almost unrecognizable in thick-framed glasses and a beanie pulled low over his forehead. "Hi," he said, his voice quiet as a few customers browsed nearby. "I was wondering if you had any recommendations." "Something that isn't about me, preferably." Lily smiled, immediately catching his meaning. "Fiction or nonfiction?" "Something real," he answered. "Even if it's made up." She led him to a corner shelf, pulled down a weathered paperback, and pressed it into his hands. "Try this. It's about a man who loses his voice and has to find new ways to be heard." Their fingers brushed, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Ethan noticed the small ink stain on her thumb, the gentle curve of her wrist as she withdrew her hand. He settled into the window nook with the book, occasionally glancing up to watch Lily work, the way she greeted regulars by name, remembered their usual orders, and discussed their last reads with genuine interest. Hours passed, the afternoon light shifting across the wooden floors. At closing time, Lily approached his corner. "Verdict?" "I'm only halfway through, but it's the first time in months I've forgotten about my phone," Ethan admitted. "High praise," she smiled. "Help me close up and I'll make you dinner." "Nothing fancy, just leftover soup and sourdough." As they worked together, Ethan stacking chairs while Lily counted the register, a comfortable rhythm developed between them. In her tiny kitchen upstairs, she moved gracefully between cabinets while he chopped vegetables for a salad. "Do you miss performing?" she asked, stirring the soup. Ethan paused, knife hovering over a cucumber. "I miss the music." "Not the rest," he resumed chopping. "My manager Jake keeps booking bigger venues, more appearances. The songs get lost in all the spectacle." "What would you do if nobody was watching?" Lily asked, her back to him as she reached for bowls. The question hung between them, simple yet profound. "Write songs that matter," he finally said. "Play in places where I could see people's faces." Later, as they ate by candlelight, the power had flickered during a brief storm, Ethan felt something unfamiliar. Normalcy. No one filming their conversation, no strategic seating for optimal publicity angles. "Why aren't you asking about my ex or my famous friends or what it's like to win awards?" he asked suddenly. Lily considered this, tilting her head slightly. "Because those things aren't you. They're just what's happened to you." She shrugged. "I'd rather know what books you read as a kid, or why you look sad when you think no one's watching." Ethan's breath caught. He couldn't remember the last time someone had actually seen him, not his image, his reputation, or his potential value, just him. "I should go," he said reluctantly, glancing at his watch. At the door, he hesitated. "Can I come back tomorrow?" Lily nodded, her eyes reflecting the warm light from the apartment. "The back door will be open around closing time. Bring dessert." As she closed the door behind him, Lily pressed her forehead against the cool wood, wondering what she was getting herself into. But the quiet smile that had transformed his face when she asked about his childhood books lingered in her mind, making her heart beat just a little faster than usual. Melodies and chapters, by the third week, Ethan's visits had become their own kind of routine. He'd arrive just before closing, sometimes helping customers find books, while Lily prepared the last coffees of the day. Afterward, they'd share dinner upstairs or walk to the nearby park when the weather permitted. Tonight, rain tapped against the skylight as they sat on her living room floor, surrounded by sheet music and Ethan's old guitar, the one without the custom inlays, the one that had traveled with him before fame. "I haven't written anything new in almost a year," Ethan confessed, fingers absently strumming chords. "Jake says we can just produce more remixes of the old hits." Lily sat cross-legged across from him, a mug of tea warming her hands. "Is that what you want?" "It's easier," he admitted. "Creating something new means risking failure. Or finding something better." Lily reached for her sketchbook, a habit she'd mostly abandoned until, recently, Ethan watched as her pencil moved across the page, gentle strokes capturing the scene around them. "You never mentioned you were an artist." "I'm not, really. Just something I do for myself." She turned the book toward him, a sketch of his hands on the guitar, the details of his fingers against the strings remarkably precise. "This is how you see me?" he asked softly. "Parts of you," she answered. Later, after they'd ordered takeout that sat half-eaten on the coffee table, Ethan picked up his guitar again. This time, the melody that emerged was unfamiliar, something new, tentative but beautiful. "What's that?" Lily asked, setting aside her sketchbook. "Not sure yet," he murmured, focused on the strings. "Something about finding spaces between pages." The song took shape as the night deepened, Lily occasionally suggesting a word or phrase when he struggled. By midnight, exhaustion shadowed their eyes, but something precious had been created between them. As Ethan played the completed verse, Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. She moved closer, her shoulder brushing against his as she leaned in to see the hastily scribbled lyrics. Their faces were inches apart when Ethan set the guitar aside, his hand finding hers in the small space between them. His fingers traced the lines of her palm, mapping her like territory both foreign and familiar. "I should probably go," he whispered, not moving away. "Probably," she agreed, her eyes meeting his. Instead, his lips found hers in a kiss that felt like coming home to a place he'd never been before. Lily's hands moved to his face, fingers gentle against his jaw as the kiss deepened, slow and deliberate. When they finally pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "I don't want to complicate your life." "Too late," she whispered back, her smile visible even in the dim light. That night, he stayed. They lay together on her small bed, talking until dawn painted the skylight with gold. He told her about growing up in a small apartment with parents who worked double shifts, about writing his first song on a second-hand keyboard. She shared stories of the grandmother who taught her to love books, and the scholarship she'd almost won to art school before her family needed her to come home. As morning light filled the room, Ethan traced the curve of her shoulder with gentle fingers, memorizing her in ways no camera ever could. For the first time in years, he felt truly present. No part of him performing or planning or protecting his image. "This can't last, can it?" Lily asked, voicing the fear that had lingered beneath their connection. Ethan pulled her closer. "Maybe that depends on what we're willing to fight for." Part 4. Spotlight Shadows. The headline appeared exactly 1 month after Ethan first stumbled into Bookmark and Brew, Ethan Brooks' secret hideaway romance. Below it, a grainy photo showed them walking together, Lily's hand in his as they left the farmer's market. Lily's phone buzzed constantly that morning, friends, relatives, even customers calling to confirm what they'd read online. By noon, 3 photographers had stationed themselves outside her store, scaring away regular patrons. "I'm so sorry," Ethan said when he finally reached her by phone. He was in another city for a previously scheduled performance. "This isn't what I wanted for you." "I know," she replied, watching another customer turn away at the sight of cameras. "But I'm losing business, Ethan. People come here for quiet, not this." That evening, as Lily closed early due to the disruption, Jake Morrison, Ethan's manager, appeared at her door. Impeccably dressed and wearing a practiced smile, he asked for 5 minutes of her time. "Ethan's rebuilding momentum after the Veronica situation," Jake explained once they were seated in her empty cafe. "The public loves a redemption story, but timing is everything." Lily listened silently as he outlined his concerns about Ethan's distraction, his upcoming album release, the carefully orchestrated publicity campaign that her presence complicated. "What exactly are you asking?" she finally interrupted. Jake's smile tightened. "Space, discretion, perhaps a brief pause while we navigate the album launch." "You want me to disappear?" Lily translated. "I want what's best for Ethan's career," he corrected. "Don't you?" After Jake left, Lily sat alone in her darkened store, surrounded by books filled with romances that never had to face reality. When Ethan called again later, she could hear the noise of the venue behind him. "Jake visited," she said simply. A long silence followed. "Whatever he said—" "He made some valid points," Lily interrupted. "This isn't just about us hiding away in my apartment anymore. This is your life, your career. You're more important than—" "Am I?" she challenged. "Enough to watch everything you've built crumble? Enough to deal with people taking photos of me buying groceries? Enough to have strangers making assumptions about us online?" The weight of questions neither of them had answers for hung between them, accompanied by the background noise of Ethan's other life, a world of stages and spotlights that seemed impossibly far from her quiet bookstore. "I need some time," she finally said, "to figure out if I can be part of your world without losing mine." That night, alone in her apartment, Lily covered the windows to block the occasional camera flash from below. She sketched Ethan's face from memory, wondering if loving someone should feel this complicated. 3 days of silence followed. Lily kept the store closed, citing renovations. On the fourth morning, she opened her door to find a delivery, advance copies of music magazines featuring Ethan on their covers, promoting his upcoming album. His photogenic smile looked nothing like the one she'd come to know in private moments. Beneath the magazines lay a handwritten note. "These aren't the pages that matter. E." Composing a new story rain fell on the night of Ethan's album release, 6 weeks since they'd last seen each other. Lily closed the bookstore early, ignoring the notifications about his sold-out show downtown. She'd maintained her silence, despite his messages and the flowers that arrived weekly. The knock on her door came just after midnight. She opened it to find Ethan standing there, soaked from the rain, no disguise, no entourage. "You didn't come," he said simply. "I couldn't watch you from a distance," she replied, stepping back to let him in. His hair was longer than before. Dark circles beneath his eyes despite the success of the album, which she'd listened to privately, recognizing pieces of their conversations woven through the lyrics. "I fired Jake," Ethan said without preamble, water dripping onto her floor. Lily stared at him. "What? Why?" "Because he thought he was protecting my career by keeping me isolated. Because success means nothing if I'm not actually living." Ethan took a step toward her. "Because he made you feel like you had to choose." "It wasn't just Jake," Lily admitted. "It was everything, the cameras, the speculation online. My life has always been quiet, I know." Ethan reached for her hand cautiously. "That's why I've made some changes." He told her about the new management team, the boundaries he'd established, the smaller venues he'd chosen for his next tour. How he'd purchased a house outside the city with a separate building perfect for a small, independent bookshop. "I'm not asking you to give up your life," he explained. "I'm asking if there's room in it for mine, the real one, not the version that sells magazines." Lily studied his face, the earnestness in his eyes, the nervous way he waited for her response. "And what happens when the novelty wears off? When I'm just the ordinary girlfriend and the world wants more drama? Then we'll write a different story," he promised. "One page at a time." He pulled something from his jacket pocket, a small, leather-bound journal. "I've been writing to you every day we've been apart. Not songs, just thoughts. Things I would have told you over dinner or while you were shelving books." Lily took the journal, her fingers tracing the water spots on its cover. Inside, his handwriting filled page after page. Observations about cities he'd visited, questions he wanted to ask her, moments when he'd wished she was there. "This is what I want," Ethan said softly. "The quiet moments between the noisy ones. A place where I can be just Ethan and you can be just Lily." She reached up to touch his face, feeling the familiar contours beneath her fingers. "It won't be easy." "The best stories never are," he replied, leaning into her touch. Later, as they lay tangled together in her bed, Ethan's heartbeat steady beneath her ear, Lily thought about the books on her shelves downstairs, how the most beloved ones showed signs of being read repeatedly. Their spines cracked, pages dog-eared. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan murmured into her hair. "How the most valuable stories are the ones that change each time you return to them," she answered. "How they grow with you." In the morning, they would face practical questions about her store, his tour schedule, the inevitable public interest. But tonight, in the quiet space they'd created, they began composing something both familiar and entirely new. A story written not in headlines or song lyrics, but in the silent language of two people choosing each other, one page at a time.